Hello there. Welcome to Snoozebae. Tonight, we explore the life of Leonardo da Vinci. This is a story spanning 67 remarkable years. A story filled with genius, darkness, and forbidden secrets. Leonardo created paintings worth hundreds of millions today. But he also cut open the dead illegally. He designed weapons meant to slaughter thousands of men. He encrypted his notebooks in mysterious backward writing. And he faced trial for crimes against nature itself. This is not the Leonardo you learned about in school. This is the real man behind the masterpieces. An illegitimate child who became history's greatest mind. A suspect who escaped execution by sheer luck. An artist who hid codes in plain sight. Tonight, we uncover every secret he tried to bury. April 15th, the year 1452. The Tuscan countryside blooms with spring flowers and warmth. Outside the small hill town of Vinci sits a farmhouse. Inside, a young peasant woman labors in pain. Her name is Caterina di Mio Lippi. She is unmarried, poor, and about to give birth. The father will not marry her, ever. He is Ser Piero da Vinci, a successful notary. He belongs to Florence's professional class, respectable and ambitious. Caterina is beneath him in every possible way. Their affair produced consequences he never wanted to acknowledge. The child born that April day carries permanent shame. He is illegitimate, born outside of marriage. His full name is Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci. Leonardo, son of Ser Piero, from the town Vinci. In Renaissance Italy, this status destroys many opportunities forever. Caterina raises the boy for his first 5 years. What happens in that farmhouse remains mostly unknown today. Did she sing to him while working the fields? Did she teach him to observe nature's smallest details? Later, Leonardo will write about a strange childhood memory. He claims a bird flew to his cradle. The bird opened his mouth with its tail feathers. Sigmund Freud will obsess over this passage centuries later. Some believe it describes actual trauma Leonardo suffered young. Others think it symbolizes something darker he couldn't speak. Whatever the truth, those early years shaped him profoundly. Then Ser Piero takes the boy away from her. Leonardo moves to his father's estate in Vinci proper. He lives with his uncle Francesco and his grandparents. His father provides food, shelter, and basic education. Reading, writing, and simple arithmetic fill his childhood. But nothing more advanced than that ever comes. His illegitimate status blocks him from university completely. He cannot become a notary like his father. The doors to law and formal scholarship slam shut. Ser Piero marries a respectable woman named Albiera Amadori. When she dies, he marries again, then again. Leonardo will eventually have 16 half-siblings from these marriages. Most are born when he's already a grown man. He barely knows any of them throughout his life. The boy grows up knowing he is different. He watches his father's legitimate children receive what he cannot. He sees the whispers when townspeople discuss his birth. Renaissance society marks illegitimate children with invisible but permanent stains. They cannot inherit property under normal legal circumstances. They cannot join certain professional guilds without special dispensation. They exist in a legal and social twilight. Leonardo carries this burden every single day of life. Some historians believe his relentless drive came from shame. He needed to prove his worth to the world. A world that judged him before he spoke words. But young Leonardo possesses something nobody expected at all. His mind works differently from other children around him. He observes everything with unnatural intensity and focus. Birds flying overhead capture his attention for long hours. How do their wings create lift from thin air? Why do some birds soar while others must flap? He watches water flowing over rocks in streams nearby. The patterns fascinate him beyond any reasonable childhood curiosity. He examines flowers, insects, clouds, and shadows cast by trees. Everything becomes a puzzle demanding to be solved completely. His notebooks from later life reveal early mechanical interests. Even as a child, he sketched pumps and devices. No teacher guided this obsession toward engineering and invention. It grew from within, wild and utterly uncontrolled. His mind demanded answers that nobody around could provide. The Tuscan landscape became his classroom and only teacher. Every hill, every valley taught him about perspective naturally. Every storm demonstrated principles of light and atmospheric effects. By age 14, something becomes obvious to everyone around. This illegitimate boy possesses extraordinary talent nobody can deny. Ser Piero makes a decision that changes everything forever. He apprenticed Leonardo to Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. Verrocchio runs one of the city's most prestigious workshops. He trains artists, sculptors, and engineers under one roof. For an illegitimate child, this represents an incredible opportunity. Leonardo moves to Florence, leaving Vinci behind for good. The year is 1467, and he is 15. Florence in the 1400s pulses with creative energy. The Medici family rules with wealth and cultural ambition. Art and commerce blend together in streets and piazzas. Young Leonardo enters a world of painting, sculpture, metalwork. He learns to mix pigments from expensive imported materials. He studies anatomy by drawing live models for hours. He acquires knowledge of mechanics and basic engineering principles. The workshop becomes the university he could never attend. But something else happens in Florence as well. Something nobody speaks about openly but everybody knows. The city watches beautiful young men with suspicious interest. Certain behaviors invite dangerous attention from authorities and neighbors. Leonardo is described as extraordinarily handsome by everyone. He dresses in fine clothes, especially rose-colored tunics. He keeps to himself more than other apprentices. He forms close bonds with male students exclusively. In Renaissance Florence, this combination makes you a target. And in 1476, Leonardo discovers exactly what happens when the wrong people notice you for too long. April 1476. Leonardo da Vinci is now 24 years old. He has just become a master in his guild. He probably works as Verrocchio's partner now, not as an apprentice. His future in Florence seems bright and completely secure. Then someone drops a note into a public mailbox. The box exists specifically for anonymous accusations of crimes. Citizens can report their neighbors without revealing their identity. The note accuses Leonardo of sodomy, a capital offense. 3 other young Florentine men are named alongside him. The charge specifies inappropriate acts with one Jacopo Saltarelli. Saltarelli is known throughout Florence as a male prostitute. In Renaissance Florence, sodomy technically carries the death penalty. Conviction can mean execution by burning or hanging. In practice, most cases get ignored by authorities. The general culture attaches little actual social stigma. Many powerful men engage in such relationships without consequence. But formal accusations cannot simply be dismissed without investigation. Leonardo and his 3 co-defendants fall under official scrutiny. The officers of the night begin their investigation immediately. This vice squad monitors intimate crimes throughout the city. Leonardo faces the very real possibility of imprisonment. Years later, he writes a cryptic reference to this. "When I made the child of God, you imprisoned me." This suggests he was actually locked in jail temporarily. The anonymous note is specific and detailed in accusations. It names all 4 men and describes specific acts. It identifies locations where these acts supposedly occurred regularly. Someone wants Leonardo punished, perhaps destroyed entirely for unknown reasons. But why target him specifically at this moment? Who benefits from his disgrace and possible execution? One of the other accused men provides a clue. His name is Leonardo da Tornabuoni, a wealthy noble. The Tornabuoni family connects directly to the powerful Medici. In fact, Lucrezia Tornabuoni is Lorenzo de' Medici's mother. The Medici effectively rule Florence through wealth and influence. They support humanist artists like Leonardo and his teacher. They oppose religious authorities who want stricter moral control. Could this accusation actually target the Medici through Leonardo? Florence operates under constant political tension during these years. Religious factions oppose the Medici's secular humanist philosophy constantly. 2 years after Leonardo's trial, assassins will attack Lorenzo. They will stab him during Mass at Florence Cathedral. The plot involves a rival banking family and a bishop. It's called the Puzzi Conspiracy, and it fails. But it demonstrates the violent hatred directed at Medici. In 1476, enemies may have tried another approach. If they could link prominent Medici allies to sodomy, public opinion might turn against the family entirely. The trial begins with Leonardo and the others imprisoned. Many citizens of Florence appear as character witnesses. Andrea del Verrocchio himself testifies on Leonardo's behalf publicly. The master defends his student before the court. 2 months pass with agonizing slowness for the accused. 2 separate trials are held to examine the evidence. No witnesses come forward to support the accusation. No evidence materializes beyond the single anonymous letter. Saltarelli himself apparently provides no testimony against the men. Finally, the charges are dropped for lack of proof. Leonardo walks free from jail back into Florence's streets. But the city has changed for him forever now. Suspicion lingers in the air like smoke after fire. Some people look at him with disgust barely hidden. In today's world, such relationships are legal and accepted. In 1476 Florence, they meant torture and death. Leonardo escaped only because a wealthy family was involved. Political protection saved him, not justice or truth. He knows he got lucky when others weren't. Many historians cite this trial as evidence of his private life. Others argue it proves absolutely nothing at all. What cannot be disputed is the psychological impact forever. Contrary to common belief, Leonardo doesn't flee Florence immediately. He actually stayed 6 more years in the city. He returns to Florence repeatedly throughout his entire life. But something inside him shifts permanently after 1476. He begins writing all his notes in a mirror script. He develops habits of extreme secrecy in everything. He trusts fewer people with his thoughts and ideas. The world showed him its capacity for cruelty. It showed him that anonymous accusations can destroy lives. It demonstrated that power protects you when truth doesn't. He will never forget these lessons about human nature. During these remaining Florence years, Leonardo sketches obsessively in notebooks. Pumps, military weapons, and strange machines fill every page. His mind races ahead of his hands constantly. He accepts commissions for paintings but rarely finishes anything completely. Other artists complete works quickly to earn their fees. Leonardo obsesses over perfection in every tiny detail. He layers paint using revolutionary techniques nobody else attempts. He experiments constantly with materials and methods that often fail. Patrons grow frustrated with his delays and broken promises. But those who see his works in progress recognize extraordinary talent. By the early 1480s, Leonardo looked beyond Florence. Milan calls to him with promises of new opportunities. A powerful duke needs military engineers to design weapons. Leonardo sees his chance to escape Florence's haunting memories. He prepares a remarkable letter listing his engineering skills. 9 categories of military engineering dominate the entire letter. He mentions painting almost as an afterthought at the end. In 1482, he sent this letter to Milan's duke. Ludovico Sforza, known as Il Moro, responds with interest. Leonardo leaves Florence and his past behind him finally. A new chapter begins in a city hungry for war. Ludovico Sforza holds Milan with an iron grip of power. He faces threats from other Italian city-states constantly. He needs weapons, fortifications, and military innovations immediately. Leonardo arrives promising exactly what the Duke desperately needs. His letter lists capabilities that sound almost fantastical. He can design portable bridges for rapid troop movements. He can create cannons that fire shots continuously. He can build armored vehicles that no enemy can breach. He can drain flooded trenches during long, difficult sieges. Page after page of military solutions pours from his mind. The Duke hires him immediately as a military engineer. The armored vehicle became one of his most famous designs. He created it in 1487 under Sforza's patronage. The concept resembles a modern tank in many ways. A conical cover inspired by turtle shells protects the crew. Wood construction reinforced with metal plates provides structure. Slanting angles deflect enemy fire like modern sloped armor. 2 large cranks operated by 4 strong men provide power. Light cannons ring the perimeter to fire in directions. The entire machine moves across battlefields, dealing death from safety. But historians later discover something very strange in these plans. The gearing system contains a deliberate and obvious flaw. If built exactly as drawn, the wheels jam completely. They would spin in opposite directions, canceling each other. The vehicle would remain motionless despite all crew efforts. Some believe Leonardo sabotaged his own design intentionally. Perhaps he designed instruments of death but felt reluctant. Perhaps his conscience demanded these subtle acts of rebellion. Or perhaps he wanted to protect inventions from enemies. If plans were stolen, they would build useless machines. The mystery of his true intention remains unsolved today. His multi-barreled cannon addresses another problem armies face. Renaissance firearms suffer from extremely slow reload times. Leonardo designs a 33-barreled organ gun instead. 33 small-caliber guns connect together on a frame. They are arranged in 3 rows of 11 guns each, all mounted on a single large revolving platform. Large wheels attach to the platform sides for mobility. While one row fires, another cools, the third reloads. The system allows continuous fire on enemy positions. His design anticipates machine guns by several centuries. He also creates concepts for repeating crossbows and catapults. These offer cheaper alternatives to expensive gunpowder firearms. But Leonardo realizes mechanical launchers are becoming obsolete quickly. Guns and cannons prove more efficient in every way. He shifts focus to multi-barreled weapons and explosive mortars. His mind constantly adapts to changing military technology. He sees the future of warfare more clearly than anyone. Wars will be won by firepower, not by swords. Perhaps most chilling are his aerial warfare concepts. Leonardo studies birds obsessively throughout his entire life. Their wings, their propulsion, their flight mechanics fascinate him. He produces numerous designs for flying machines over the years. His sketches are years ahead of their time completely. The aerial screw resembles a modern helicopter remarkably. He designs it in 1489 using observations. A helical rotor roughly 4 meters in diameter spins. The frame is constructed from reeds covered with linen. He describes how it would penetrate air like a screw. But Leonardo doesn't imagine peaceful flight for humanity's benefit. His notebooks describe bombs and arrows raining down on enemies. Aerial bombardment won't become reality for several centuries. Yet Leonardo envisions it clearly in the 1400s. The First and Second World Wars prove his vision correct. He foresaw the future of destruction from the skies. During these Milan years, Leonardo produced more than weapons. He paints portraits and religious scenes for wealthy patrons. He sculpts and designs buildings for the Duke's court. He creates elaborate pageants and mechanical entertainments for celebrations. Sforza's court appreciates his artistic genius just as much. But the military work continues alongside everything else always. In 1502, Leonardo enters service with another patron. Cesare Borgia, the infamous son of Pope Alexander VI. Borgia is ruthless, ambitious, and extremely dangerous to cross. Leonardo becomes his military architect and chief engineer. They travel throughout Italy together for several months. Leonardo creates detailed maps for attacking fortified enemy cities. He designs hydraulic pumps and finned mortar shells. He even sketches a steam-powered cannon that remains theoretical. His imagination knows absolutely no limits whatsoever at all. But alongside these public works, Leonardo pursues forbidden knowledge. Knowledge that could get him arrested, tortured, and executed. Knowledge that might condemn his soul to eternal punishment forever. In secret, away from all prying eyes and spies, he begins cutting open the dead for study. And he will do this for decades to come. 1489, a year marked in Leonardo's private notes. After years of reading ancient anatomy texts, Leonardo acts. He begins illegally smuggling cadavers from unknown sources. The bodies come from hospitals, executed criminals, or unclaimed dead. How he obtains them remains completely unclear today. How he avoids detection is equally mysterious and unexplained. Renaissance Italy operates under strict church authority in everything. Dissecting human corpses is absolutely forbidden by religious doctrine. The practice violates beliefs about the sanctity of bodies. Discovery means prison, torture, or execution by burning. The Inquisition has eyes and ears everywhere in Italy. Leonardo cuts them open anyway, night after night. He peels back layers of skin and muscle carefully. He removes skull caps to examine brain tissue directly. His drawings look like modern medical scans created centuries early. They show cross-sections no one else attempts to document. He carefully maps the brain's ventricles in precise detail. Medieval philosophers believed the soul resided in these spaces. Leonardo wants to see for himself if this is true. He draws the heart, the lungs, the entire digestive system. Every organ receives his meticulous attention and careful measurement. Every structure gets recorded in his mirror-written secret notes. By the end of his life, he claimed 30 corpses. In the winter of 1510 to 1511, work peaks. He probably collaborated with Marcantonio della Torre then. Della Torre teaches anatomy at the University of Pavia. Together they produce 18 mostly double-sided sheets of drawings. More than 240 individual drawings cover these pages. Over 13,000 words of notes accompany all the images. The collection represents groundbreaking scientific achievement unmatched for generations. Leonardo studies muscles and how they enable human movement. He examines bones and their structural load-bearing mechanics. He investigates internal organs and all their physiological functions. His understanding surpasses his contemporaries by literal centuries. He discovers complexities of the cardiovascular system nobody suspects. He identifies muscles in the human face unexplained officially. He understands leverage and motion better than any anatomist. All because he breaks the law repeatedly without remorse. But why this dangerous obsession that risks his life? Leonardo believes accurate human anatomy is essential for art. He wants to paint human forms with unparalleled precision. He needs to understand how bodies actually function internally. Surface observation isn't enough for his demanding artistic standards. He must see beneath the skin into hidden structures. He must trace nerves and blood vessels to their origins. Only then can he capture true life on canvas. His paintings will show anatomical accuracy impossible for others. Yet the dissections serve another deeper purpose entirely. Leonardo is driven by insatiable curiosity about everything. He possesses a thirst for knowledge that transcends any practicality. The human body holds secrets about life and consciousness. He wants to uncover every single one of them. Why does blood flow in specific patterns through veins? How do muscles contract and then relax on command? Where does consciousness originate in the brain's gray tissue? These questions consume him during every waking hour constantly. No authority can forbid his investigation of these mysteries. Not the church, not the law, not any societal norms. The conditions under which he works are absolutely nightmarish. No refrigeration exists to preserve bodies from decay. Bodies decay rapidly, especially during warm summer months. The stench must be overwhelming and unbearable for hours. Candles provide the only light in dark, locked rooms. Leonardo works alone or with one single trusted assistant. Every sound from outside threatens discovery and arrest for him. Every visitor poses potential exposure of his illegal activities. He risks literally everything for forbidden knowledge about life. His anatomical drawings reveal an artist's eye combined perfectly. The shading, the perspective, the three-dimensional quality surpass medicine. These are works of art documenting scientific truth simultaneously. Beauty and horror intertwine on every single page. The human body becomes both subject and aesthetic object. Dead flesh transforms into timeless art under his hands. But Leonardo's notebooks contain more than anatomy and dissections. Hidden within the pages are symbols nobody fully understands. Codes that scholars still debate and argue about today. References to knowledge that shouldn't exist in 1500s. And perhaps most disturbing of all to researchers now, there is evidence of connections to secret societies. Societies operating in Europe's darkest shadows during these years. Leonardo da Vinci writes backwards in every single notebook. Every page displays perfect mirror script flowing right to left. Text flows from right to left in reverse direction. Letters reverse their normal orientation completely and precisely. Only when held to a mirror do words become readable. For centuries, this habit has generated endless speculation worldwide. Why did Leonardo choose this extremely strange method? The simplest explanation involves his left-handedness and practicality. Writing left to right causes left-handed people to smudge ink. Their hand drags across fresh words, smearing them illegibly. Mirror writing elegantly eliminates this annoying problem completely. The hand moves away from completed text at all times. Leonardo himself demonstrated his left-handed work to many observers. Contemporaries recorded watching him write and paint left-handed. Sketches show his own left hand drawing itself perfectly. But some scholars propose much darker reasons for this. Perhaps Leonardo deliberately concealed his findings from casual observers. Perhaps he wanted to protect his inventions from theft. Perhaps he feared persecution for forbidden knowledge he possessed. Mirror writing creates a barrier to casual reading effectively. It discourages prying eyes from understanding his thoughts quickly. Only someone dedicated would bother with mirrors to read. This adds a layer of security to sensitive material. Interestingly, Leonardo always wrote normally when communicating with others. Letters and documents intended for patrons use conventional script. Only his private notes employ mirror writing exclusively. This suggests the technique served personal purposes, not performance. He protected his thoughts, not his public face or persona. But the mirror writing is just the beginning. Leonardo's notebooks contain approximately 17 distinctive symbolic systems. Code-breaking experts have analyzed these pages for hidden meanings. They reveal astronomical charts tracking celestial movements with precision. Mathematical sequences that encode information in strange patterns. Geometric patterns tied to sacred geometry from ancient traditions. Symbols matching secret communications from Hermetic societies active then. The Rosicrucians and other shadowy fraternities dealt in forbidden knowledge. They practiced occult studies hidden from church authorities completely. Leonardo's notebooks contain symbols matching their esoteric doctrines exactly. The connection cannot be proven definitively with available evidence. But the similarities disturb researchers who study them carefully. Did Leonardo belong to secret societies operating in shadows? Did he receive instruction in ancient wisdom traditions? Did he encode alchemical knowledge in his famous art? Some pages contain drawings that transform when mirrored completely. Mechanical devices become anatomical diagrams when flipped over. Architectural sketches reveal symbolic maps of hidden knowledge. Leonardo layered ideas like puzzles waiting for future solutions. One controversial theory involves the Annunciation, a lesser-known painting. Under infrared light, the angel's robe displays a grid. The pattern connects to Kabbalistic numerology from Jewish mysticism. Scholars debate whether Leonardo studied forbidden Jewish mystical texts. Medieval manuscripts containing these symbols were banned by the Church. Possessing them invited Inquisition investigation and likely torture. If Leonardo embedded these patterns publicly in artworks, he challenged religious authority silently but deliberately. He hid rebellion in plain sight for those watching. Only those with eyes to see would recognize defiance. Even more extraordinary is musical theory in The Last Supper. In 2007, a researcher made a claim. The arrangement of hands and bread loaves forms music. When read from right to left, it produces a hymn. Whether Leonardo intended this remains disputed among experts. But the mathematical precision suggests deliberate design, not coincidence. The Last Supper always generates other controversies as well. The figure to Jesus's right has sparked endless debate. Traditional interpretation identifies this person as Apostle John, but the facial features appear feminine to many observers. The body language suggests intimacy with Jesus Christ himself. Some theorists argue it represents Mary Magdalene instead. They claim Leonardo revealed her hidden role in Christianity. The painting conspicuously lacks a Holy Grail chalice completely. This absence fuels endless speculation about Leonardo's true intent. His most famous work, the Mona Lisa, contains mysteries too. One popular theory claims the painting is Leonardo's self-portrait. He allegedly painted himself with feminine features deliberately. Facial feature comparisons with his supposed self-portraits show similarities. But definitive evidence remains elusive to researchers today. The most accepted explanation identifies the sitter as Lisa. She was the wife of a wealthy Florentine merchant, but the mystery of her smile persists across centuries. What emotion does that expression convey to viewers exactly? Why has it captivated millions of people for generations? 21st century attempts to solve the Mona Lisa mystery failed. Researchers sought Lisa Gerardini's remains for testing purposes. They hoped to recreate her face and compare it. The results proved inconclusive and unhelpful to researchers. The mystery endures into our modern era still unsolved. Was Leonardo using art to store forbidden knowledge secretly? Knowledge from illegal dissections he couldn't speak about openly? Engineering secrets far ahead of his era's understanding completely? Symbols linked to persecuted secret societies operating in shadows? The evidence suggests yes to all these questions. Leonardo encrypted his genius in paint and mirror-written pages. Future generations must decipher what his contemporaries could never know. But there's more to the mystery than anyone suspects. 18 months of Leonardo's life are completely unaccounted for. No records exist from this period at all anywhere. And what happened during that time may explain everything. 18 months of Leonardo's life vanished from history completely. No records exist from this mysterious period at all. No letters survive that explain his whereabouts or activities. No witnesses document his location during this entire time. He simply vanishes from history like smoke in the wind. Where did he go during these missing months? What did he do that required such secrecy? The mystery has frustrated historians for centuries without resolution. Some theorists propose he traveled to the Middle East. Perhaps he sought ancient manuscripts in Constantinople or Egypt. Arabic scholars preserved Greek and Roman knowledge lost in Europe. Leonardo read voraciously everything he could access from any source. A secret journey to acquire forbidden texts would fit. It would explain his later knowledge of subjects unavailable. It would account for symbols in his notebooks. Symbols matching those from Hermetic traditions preserved in Arabic. But no evidence supports this theory beyond pure speculation today. Others suggest he entered a secret society's hidden monastery. Mystery schools operated throughout Renaissance Europe in complete secrecy. They taught sacred geometry, alchemy, and forbidden astrology. These fraternities existed underground, away from church surveillance completely. If Leonardo received formal instruction in esoteric arts here, this missing period would explain it perfectly and completely. The symbols in his later work would make sense. The coded messages would represent actual training, not imagination. But again, no evidence proves this theory beyond coincidence. A darker theory proposes Leonardo worked for powerful families. Perhaps he designed weapons too terrible to acknowledge publicly. Perhaps he conducted experiments society would condemn as wrong. His notebooks contain references to cruel spectacles he witnessed. He wrote about human nature's darkness with disturbing insight. What experiences shaped these observations about cruelty and violence? What did he see during those missing months? What did he do that couldn't be recorded safely? The simplest explanation suggests record loss rather than mystery. Fire, flood, and war destroyed many documents from that era. Leonardo may have lived ordinarily during these missing months. The absence of records might mean absolutely nothing. But for a man who documented everything obsessively always, 18 months of silence seems significant and deliberate somehow. For a man who wrote about breakfast in notebooks, total silence feels wrong and suspicious to researchers today. Whatever happened during this time, Leonardo emerged and changed completely. His worldview darkened considerably after this mysterious period ended. His mistrust of authority deepened into permanent suspicion. His commitment to secret knowledge intensified beyond normal bounds. The missing months represent a void in his biography. A void that invites endless speculation and conspiracy theories. Perhaps we will never know what happened then truly. Perhaps Leonardo wanted it that way from the beginning. But we do know what happened next clearly enough. Leonardo created masterworks that changed art history forever completely. And he did it using techniques nobody understood then. Despite his scientific pursuits, Leonardo created timeless art that endures. The Last Supper was painted in Milan between years. The mural covers the refectory wall of Santa Maria. Leonardo experimented with an untested technique that would fail. Instead of true fresco on wet plaster, he applied tempera paint to the drywall instead. This allowed him to work slowly, perfecting every detail. But the paint began deteriorating almost immediately after completion. Within Leonardo's own lifetime, the masterpiece started flaking badly. The painting began literally falling off the wall in pieces. The composition revolutionized religious art in ways still felt. Jesus sits centered at the table in perfect perspective. His disciples react to the announcement of betrayal dramatically. Each figure displays distinct emotion and unique personality clearly. Leonardo captured human psychology in paint like nobody before. The perspective draws viewers into the scene physically somehow. The architectural elements create depth and realistic space perfectly. Despite its deteriorating condition, the power endures across centuries. The Mona Lisa occupied Leonardo from 1503 onward. He may have worked on this portrait for 16 years. The painting accompanied him to France at life's end. He never delivered it to any patron who commissioned it. Instead, he kept it, studying the face endlessly, adjusting shadows, perfecting the enigmatic smile over years. This obsession produced the world's most famous painting ever. Leonardo developed sfumato technique to unprecedented mastery levels here. The Italian word means smoky or hazy in translation. He built up layers of translucent paint carefully. Each layer modified the one beneath it subtly. The result creates soft transitions between colors and tones. Hard edges disappear entirely from the painted surface. Forms emerge from shadow like memories solidifying before eyes. The technique requires extraordinary patience and remarkable skill. Leonardo possessed both in abundance throughout his entire life. He painted relatively few works during his lifetime overall. Perhaps 15 paintings can be definitively attributed to him. Many more were started but never finished at all. Leonardo's perfectionism prevented completion of most commissioned works. His scientific interests distracted him from commissions constantly. Frustrated patrons demanded their money back from him. Yet those paintings he did finish changed art history. His notebooks, by contrast, number over 13,000 pages. These were his true masterwork in every sense. Every observation, every question, every insight received careful documentation. The pages reveal a mind operating on multiple levels. On one sheet, botanical drawings sit beside military engineering. Geometric proofs share space with philosophical musings about life. Leonardo's consciousness encompassed all human knowledge simultaneously somehow. But he considered himself a complete failure in life. In his final years, he wrote about life regretfully. So many projects unfinished and abandoned over the decades. So many ideas unrealized in physical form ever. So many inventions remain theoretical on paper only forever. He called his existence incomplete and wasted ultimately. This from a man who defined Renaissance genius itself. What heights did he imagine he failed to reach? What perfection haunted him until death approached finally? But before death came, one more chapter awaited Leonardo. A chapter in a foreign land far from home. A chapter where a king would become his friend, and where he would die far from everything. 1515, a meeting in Bologna changes everything. Leonardo is in Bologna, probably attending a political meeting. Pope Leo X and King Francis I convene together. The young French king notices the elderly Italian artist. Leonardo's inventions and artwork intrigue Francis deeply and genuinely. The king extends an invitation to the French court. Between August 1516 and May 1517, Leonardo relocated. He makes the long, difficult journey over the Alps. He brings with him several paintings, including Mona Lisa. King Francis I bestows upon him the title First Painter. The king provides Leonardo with the Closlus Manor House. The brick and marble chateau sits in Amboise, Loire Valley. It serves as the summer residence of a French court. Leonardo is 64 years old when he finally arrives. His health is declining rapidly now with age. His right hand may be partially paralyzed from stroke. But his mind remains sharp as ever before. Drawings from his final years prove continued inventing. He writes, draws, and conceptualizes until nearly the end. King Francis I visits him regularly at the manor. The king and the artist develop genuine friendship together. Francis recognizes Leonardo's extraordinary genius fully and completely. He gives the old man freedom to work. The manor house at Closlus becomes Leonardo's final workplace. It is the only Leonardo residence still standing today. The rooms where he spent his last days exist. Tourists walk the same floors the master walked centuries ago. They see where brilliance confronts mortality face to face. Leonardo focuses primarily on inventions during these final years. Perhaps he senses time running short for him now. Perhaps he wants to organize his life's work finally. His assistant Francesco Melzi helps him with careful cataloging. Melzi has been with Leonardo for many years now. The young man is loyal, devoted, and extremely capable. Leonardo trusts him completely with everything he owns. On April 23, 1519, Leonardo notarized his will. His failing health has become obvious to everyone around. He names Melzi as his primary heir and executor. The artist knows death approaches very soon now inevitably. 9 days later, it arrived at his door. May 2nd, 1519, a Monday morning. Leonardo da Vinci dies at Closlus in France. He was 67 years old at the time. The cause of death is assumed to be stroke, but no definitive medical evidence exists from that time. His death probably does not surprise those close to him. Myth claims Leonardo died in King Francis's arms dramatically. Artist Giorgio Vasari romanticized the death scene in biography. He wrote that the king held Leonardo's head. But no evidence supports this romantic story at all. In fact, the king was likely elsewhere that day. Nearly 2 decades later, Francis spoke of Leonardo respectfully. But the deathbed embrace appears to be legend only. What is certain is that Leonardo died far from homeland. Florence and Milan must have seemed like distant memories. The Tuscan hills of his childhood existed in dreams. He died in a foreign country speaking foreign language, surrounded by relative strangers except for loyal Melzi. Only Melzi truly knew him at the very end. His burial occurred on August 12, 1519, more than 3 months after his actual death. Why this delay remains unclear to historians even today. His body was interred in Amboise, France, far from Italy. The grave marked the final resting place of the genius. But even in death, Leonardo's mysteries would not end. His most expensive painting would spark controversy centuries later, and it would raise questions about everything we know. 2017, a date that shocked the world. Christie's auction house in New York prepares a sale. The painting is called Solvitor Mundi, Savior of World. It depicts Jesus Christ holding a crystal orb. The painting is attributed to Leonardo da Vinci himself. The estimate is $100 million minimum. When the hammer falls, the price is astonishing completely. $450.3 million total. It sets a new record for most expensive painting. The buyer remains anonymous to this very day. Some believe it was purchased for Saudi Arabia's crown. But the painting has not been seen publicly since. The controversy around Solvitor Mundi is enormous and ongoing. Worth $450 million, it is famous for not just the jaw-dropping price, but also the controversy. The battle between art historians over authenticity continues today. Some believe Leonardo painted this piece entirely himself. Others think it is mostly the work of students. The distinction could significantly influence its market value dramatically. The painting has been heavily overpainted over the centuries. The wood support has been damaged by insects badly. The main focus of the painting is Christ's face, but it appears ghostly and weak to many critics. According to several critics, it does not inspire admiration. Not like other Leonardo works inspire viewers universally always. At least 30 copies and variations of the painting. These were executed by Leonardo's pupils and followers. A lot of these paintings showcase similarities with Leonardo's style. This means there must have been an original by an original painting done by Leonardo that pupils copied. Yet there is no definitive evidence that Solvitor Mundi. No proof it was painted by Da Vinci himself. The auction house Christie's dismissed the criticisms and all rumors. It asserted that there was a broad consensus among scholars. Several news reports in 2021 described documents. An undisclosed museum document confirmed the painting's attribution allegedly. But because Solvitor Mundi was never shown at museums, officials are prohibited by law from examining privately owned businesses. Therefore, no official record of the painting's attribution exists. Discussions regarding the painting's authenticity continue among art historians, particularly regarding whether it is a genuine Da Vinci, or primarily the work of his workshop students instead. given the limited number of authenticated Da Vinci artworks. Interestingly, one person expressed doubts about the painting early. In 2013, before the record sale happened, communications revealed doubts about the painting's investment potential seriously. Extensive restoration had led experts to question its originality. Any buyer paying an inflated price for a piece. So where is this $450 million painting now exactly? Nobody knows for certain where it is today. It has not been displayed publicly since 2000. Some believe it is in Saudi Arabia somewhere hidden. Others think it might be in a private vault. The mystery continues to fascinate the art world completely. This is fitting for Leonardo da Vinci somehow perfectly. Even centuries after his death, mysteries surround his work. Even his most expensive painting raises more questions. Did he paint it or did his students? Why has it disappeared from public view entirely? Will we ever know the truth about this painting? But there is one more mystery we haven't explored. The Vitruvian Man, perhaps his most reproduced drawing ever. And it may contain a secret hidden for centuries. 1490, Leonardo creates a drawing that becomes iconic. He calls it the Vitruvian Man after an ancient architect. The drawing illustrates Leonardo's study of ideal human proportions, derived from Vitruvius but refined through his own observations. A naked man stands with arms and legs spread. He is inscribed within both a circle and the figure fits perfectly within both geometric shapes somehow. The drawing has been one of art's greatest mysteries. For centuries, scholars debated what Leonardo intended to communicate. Now, a new study suggests the Renaissance master encoded. He encoded the solution in plain sight using geometry, using a simple shape to link the human form, to link it to a universal blueprint for efficiency. The research, published in Journal of Mathematics and Arts. The key to the puzzle lies in Leonardo's notes. He explicitly references an equilateral triangle between the legs. An equilateral triangle is a perfect triangle with 3 equal sides and 3 equal angles exactly. The study demonstrates that this shape corresponds precisely to what is known in modern dentistry. It's called Bonwill's triangle, a geometric relationship connecting jawbones. This triangle connects the 2 jaw joints and the chin. It governs the optimal, most efficient function of jaws. By applying this triangle, Leonardo may have been documenting a fundamental principle of human biomechanics centuries early. The study of how living things move and function. Rory McSweeney found a crucial hidden detail. Tucked in the Vitruvian Man's lower area lies something, an equilateral triangle that may explain the entire drawing. It may explain one of the most analyzed works. The Vitruvian Man is partly inspired by writings of, inspired by Roman architect Vitruvius, who argued that perfection, the perfect human body should fit inside a circle, and also fit inside a square at the same time. But Leonardo didn't stop there with his observations carefully. He refined Vitruvius through his own anatomical dissections secretly. He always refined through contemporary works and mathematical studies. The drawing illustrates Leonardo's study of ideal human proportions, but it also may illustrate his understanding of biomechanics. The drawing has mainly an architectural theoretical meaning to scholars. Illustrates the ancient insight that dimensions follow. Individual limbs of a human being follow mathematical laws. Therefore, buildings erected by humans should also be proportioned. They should be as well proportioned as humans themselves are. Because Leonardo's sketch combines a circle and a square, the drawing is also brought into a spiritual context. The circle is then a symbol of femininity spiritually. The square is a symbol of masculinity in this interpretation. Moreover, Leonardo is said to have hidden in the drawing. Hidden a solution to an old mathematical problem completely. The problem is known as the squaring of the circle. This mathematical problem puzzled scholars for centuries without solution. Did Leonardo encode multiple layers of meaning into one drawing? Did he hide anatomical, mathematical, and spiritual secrets together? The evidence strongly suggests yes to all these questions. Leonardo was a man who thought in layers always. He saw connections between art, science, mathematics, and spirituality. He understood that everything in nature follows geometric principles. And he tried to document this understanding in drawings. Drawings that would survive him for 500 years. But what drove this obsession with hidden knowledge always? What made Leonardo encrypt his genius in codes and symbols? Perhaps the answer lies in his illegitimate birth status. Perhaps it lies in his trial for sodomy. Perhaps it lies in those 18 missing months. Or perhaps Leonardo simply understood something we don't yet. That knowledge must be protected from those who misuse it. That genius must be encoded for future generations only. That some secrets are too dangerous for their time. Leonardo da Vinci left an impact few men achieve. His paintings number less than 20 in total. His sculptures were never cast in bronze as planned. His architectural designs remained on paper only forever. His scientific discoveries stayed locked in mirror-written notebooks. Yet his influence spans 500 years and continues. He died believing himself a failure in every way. He wrote that he accomplished nothing he truly intended. So many paintings unfinished and abandoned over decades. So many inventions unrealized in physical form ever. So many ideas that remained theoretical on paper only. He wanted to change the world but felt inadequate. This from the man who epitomized Renaissance genius itself. But what did he actually leave behind for us? Fewer than 25 major attributed works exist today. The Mona Lisa is regarded as the world's best. The most famous individual painting ever created by humanity. The Last Supper is the most reproduced religious painting. His Vitruvian Man drawing is regarded as cultural. A cultural icon recognized around the entire world today. He conceptualized flying machines centuries before flight became reality. A type of armored fighting vehicle resembling modern tanks. Concentrated solar power for military and civilian uses both. A ratio machine that could be used in calculating. And the double hull for ships to prevent sinking. Relatively few of his designs were constructed during lifetime. The modern scientific approaches to metallurgy and engineering were. They were only in their infancy during the Renaissance. Some of his smaller inventions entered the world of manufacturing. An automated bobbin winder for textile production quietly appeared. A machine for testing the tensile strength of wire. These inventions entered production unheralded by anyone at the time. Nobody knew they came from Leonardo da Vinci originally. He made substantial discoveries in anatomy, civil engineering, and hydrodynamics. Also geology, optics, and tribology over his entire lifetime. But he did not publish his findings for the public. They had little to no direct influence on science. His notebooks remained scattered and lost for centuries afterwards. Francesco Melzi inherited them but could not publish them. The task was too overwhelming for one person alone. After Melzi's death in 1570, the collection passed to his son Orazio, a lawyer by profession. Orazio initially took little interest in the journals at all. In 1587, a household tutor took 13 manuscripts. The architect Giovanni Magenta reproached him for taking them, having many more such works in his possession still. Orazio gifted the volumes to Magenta as a gift. The notebooks scattered across Europe over the following centuries gradually. Some were lost forever in fires and floods. Some were stolen by collectors and hidden in vaults. Some were torn apart and sold as individual pages. The complete picture of Leonardo's genius remained hidden for generations after his death in France alone. But perhaps his greatest legacy is the mystery itself. The codes in his notebooks that remain unsolved today. The 18 missing months that explain nothing at all. The trial for sodomy that shaped his entire worldview. The mirror writing that protected his thoughts from prying. The symbols matching secret societies operating in shadows then. Leonardo da Vinci remains an enigma 500 years later. We know the facts of his life from records. We know he was born illegitimate in the Tuscany countryside. We know he was tried for sodomy and acquitted. We know he worked for dukes and kings. We know he dissected corpses illegally for decades. We know he died in France far from home. We know he left behind masterpieces and thousands of pages of notes in mirror writing always. But we don't know what he truly believed deep inside. We don't know if he belonged to secret societies. We don't know what happened during those missing months. We don't know if he intentionally sabotaged his weapons. We don't know if he encoded forbidden knowledge deliberately. We don't know what secrets he took to the grave. Perhaps he understood that true genius cannot be fully explained or understood by contemporaries ever. Perhaps he knew that mystery would preserve his legacy better than any published book or completed painting could. King Francis I said it best 2 decades after Leonardo. There had never been another man born in the world who knew as much as Leonardo in all fields. Not so much about painting, sculpture, and architecture specifically, as that he was a very great philosopher overall. A philosopher who saw connections others missed completely always. A philosopher who understood that knowledge must sometimes hide. A philosopher who encoded genius for future generations to find. A philosopher who died believing he accomplished nothing worthwhile, but who left behind a legacy that will endure forever. Tonight, we explored the life of Leonardo da Vinci completely. From his birth as an illegitimate child in 1452, to his death in France in 1519 alone. We uncovered his trial for sodomy in Florence, his illegal dissections of human corpses for 30 years. His weapons were designed to destroy thousands of men. His codes and symbols match secret societies exactly. His 18 missing months that explain nothing at all. His masterpieces are worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. Leonardo da Vinci died thinking he had not done enough in life. He left pages covered in restless handwriting, and canvases he still wanted to change. He left designs that never became metal and wood, and questions he never finished answering. To him, the work felt incomplete, and the time was always too short. He looked back at 67 years and saw only the gaps. The projects abandoned, the experiments stopped, the ideas that stayed trapped in ink. Centuries later, the world sees something very different when it looks at his story. It sees a child born outside of marriage, who was told certain doors would always stay locked. It sees that child grow into a man who broke through those walls with sheer attention and effort. No title, no diploma, no official job ever fully defined him. When law barred him from the universities, he made nature his classroom instead. When power tried to steer him toward war machines, he filled his evenings with anatomy sketches and studies of light. When fear and suspicion followed him, he turned deeper toward pages only he could read. There is a quiet courage in that kind of life, the courage of someone who refuses to be only one thing. Leonardo painted because color and shadow spoke to him. He dissected because skin and bone raised questions he could not ignore. He designed weapons because rulers paid for steel more willingly than for ideas. He drew saints and angels, then went home and filled notebooks with gears and veins. He walked a line between patronage and conscience, between curiosity and danger, for decades. Many of the things that made him feel unfinished are the same things that make him feel human now. The notebooks that jump from water flow to flight, from jokes to geometry, show a mind that could not sit still. The unfinished paintings, sitting beside masterpieces, show a man who was never fully satisfied. The mirror writing, at once practical and protective, shows someone who needed privacy in a world that watched too closely. The gaps in his life story, those missing months and lost pages, remind us that even the most documented lives have shadows. There is also the weight of his loneliness woven through these years. He was admired by kings and courtiers, but truly known by very few. He gathered students and assistants, but trusted only a small inner circle. He worked in crowded courts and busy cities, but carried most of his questions alone. When the trial in Florence marked him, when projects in Milan collapsed, when promises from patrons faded, he learned how fragile approval could be. The man who painted the tenderness of a mother and child, and the calm gaze of the Mona Lisa, carried his own fears quietly behind that control. Yet he kept choosing to look closely at the world instead of turning away. When others saw a simple hand, he saw tendons, ligaments, and the way light wraps around knuckles. When others saw a river, he saw vortices, erosion, and patterns that repeat in air and blood. When others bowed to mystery and stopped, he wrote questions in margins and followed them as far as he could. His life was not only about brilliance. It was about staying curious in a world that often preferred easy answers. The mysteries we talk about now, the smile that will not settle on one emotion, the figure at the table in that convent refectory, the symbols buried in a man drawn inside a circle and a square, are part of this same pattern. They are the places where he left space, where he did not explain everything. The missing explanations invite us closer instead of pushing us away. They ask us to look longer, think harder, and accept that some parts of another person's mind will never be fully visible. In that way, Leonardo's story is not just about genius. It is about limits. It is about how far one person can push against the walls of their time, and where those walls hold anyway. It is about how someone can change painting, science, and engineering, and still feel like time ran out too soon. It is about how knowledge expands, but always leaves a horizon beyond reach. He watched that horizon every day, chasing it with pen and brush, knowing he would never touch it completely. And yet, somewhere inside those 67 years, there is also something gentle. A man pausing over a sketch of a child's face. A hand resting on a page where he has just written about how the heart moves blood. A tired figure in a foreign house in France, still making small corrections to a portrait he refuses to hand over. A teacher leaving his notebooks in the care of a student, trusting that someone after him might understand a little more. Now, centuries later, the questions around his life and work follow a softer path. Not was he perfect, but what did he see that we still miss? Not did he finish everything, but what did he start that we are still continuing? Every time someone studies a muscle drawing in an anatomy class, or traces the perspective lines in a painting, or opens a notebook filled with plans for a new machine, they are walking a little of his road. They are stepping briefly into that space where looking closely is an act of hope. Leonardo da Vinci did not get to choose how history would speak his name. He did not get to choose which work survived fire, war, and neglect. He did not get to choose which pages were scattered or lost in private collections. But he did choose to leave a record of how he looked at the world. He chose to write down the questions that troubled him. He chose to draw what he saw, even when no patron was paying for that work. Those choices are the reason his voice still reaches across 500 years. Some of his secrets will never be solved. Some codes will remain patterns we only half understand. Some gaps in his timeline will stay dark. That is not a failure of research. It is a truth about human lives. No one's story is completely knowable, even when it fills thousands of pages. There is always an inside that stays inside. There is always a thought that never makes it to paper. What remains of Leonardo, then, is not only the paintings and the machines, or the diagrams and the pages of reverse script. What remains is a shape of a life. A child counted out, who refused to stay small. A man accused and doubted who kept working anyway. An old artist in a foreign room, still reaching for the next line, the next answer, the next small improvement. A mind that never quite rested, even at the end. And somewhere beyond the museums and the books, beyond the crowds standing in front of bulletproof glass, there is the simple fact that he was a person who got up every morning and tried again. Tried to see a little more clearly. Tried to understand a little more deeply. Tried to leave the world with a few more questions turned into drawings instead of silence. The notebooks are closed now. The brush is dry. The hands that wrote and painted and dissected are dust. But the way he looked at things is still available to anyone who wants it. Look closer. Ask why. Accept that you may never know everything, and keep going anyway. That is the quiet inheritance he leaves behind, more than any single painting or invention. His story is told, and still unfolding. His work is finished and still being continued. His life is over, and still reaching forward through every eye that lingers on a shadow he once painted, or a line he once drew. Let that thought settle softly for a while. Let the questions around him feel less like problems and more like a kind of companionship. Somewhere in those unanswered parts of his life, there is permission for your own unfinished work, your own open questions, your own pages still waiting. Leonardo da Vinci did not solve everything. He did not have to. He showed what it looks like to keep trying. And that is enough.